So, in case you're wondering, no, that wasn't an earthquake you felt in your sleep last night. It was Geoff Duncan, former Lieutenant Governor of Georgia, rocking the MAGA movement's world by announcing on CNN that he's voting for Joe Biden. Take a look at how one Republican finally stood up and said, "Enough is enough. Trump is destroying our party and our country."
And tonight, he is revealing in a brand new op-ed that he is voting for President Joe Biden in November. He's also urging fellow Republicans to do the same. Quote, and I'll read a little portion of it, "The healing of the Republican Party cannot begin with Trump as president. That's aside from the untold damage that potentially awaits our country. You say you're going to vote for President Biden. There's been a lot of criticism, I'm sure, coming your way for doing just that or saying just that. How do you respond to people who say, then have a third party option, write someone else in, but why vote for a Democrat?"
Look, sometimes the best way to learn your lesson is to get beat, and Donald Trump needs to get beat. We need to move on as a party. We need to move on as a country. And certainly I've got concerns with some of the policies that President Biden follows, and I hope to be able to, like many other Republicans, be able to sway their influence on immigration and other issues that we disagree with wholeheartedly. But look, to think Donald Trump's wholeheartedly a conservative is just fake news at its finest. Donald Trump's not a conservative. He rationed $8 trillion worth of debt during his presidency. He told us he was going to build a wall. He built a photo station down at the border. This guy's a fake Republican. We have to move on as Republicans. We have to. And this is our first step to do it. Look, there's a lot of folks sitting at home that have said out loud on TV that they're supporting Donald Trump, but they're watching this play out right here. They're reading this op-ed, wishing they probably had the courage to do the same thing. It's time to turn the page as Republicans and move on.
Now, the interesting thing here is how Duncan wastes no time explaining his decision. Because Trump is a fraud, plain and simple. For Duncan, Trump is a poser who pretends to be conservative, but isn't. The only thing Trump believes in is Trump. And Duncan has had enough. He makes it clear that it isn't enough to simply not vote or to write in a third-party candidate. In order to save the Republican Party and our democracy, Trump and the MAGA movement has to be sent packing. Duncan is way ahead of the curve here, demonstrating the kind of political courage and calculus that most Republican leaders are too afraid to show. The excuse-making they made for the chaos Trump sowed while in office has now evolved into the attempts to normalize and minimize the January 6th insurrection. Duncan has broken the glass to the alarm and pointed out that the emperor has no clothes. When asked to explain, Duncan responded that sometimes the best way to learn is to get beaten, meaning he wants Trump and the MAGA movement to suffer defeat so that they will go away. A lot of Republicans, Duncan included, were willing to ride the tiger of the MAGA movement when it brought Republicans victory in 2016. But Duncan speaks to what no one else is acknowledging. Republicans have been losing ever since. The MAGA movement brought a slew of really dumb people into power. Not just Trump, but Marjorie Taylor Greene and her Jewish space lasers, Lauren Boebert and her antics in and out of theaters. The MAGA movement also provides cover for the not very bright ideologues who run committees, like the sexual predator enabling Jim Jordan from Ohio and the Hunter Biden laptop-loving hayseed from Kentucky, James Comer. The corporatist wing of the party is getting drowned out and pushed down by the MAGA morons, and Duncan is trying to lead the charge against it. He's not only providing cover for others to follow, he's taking a chunk out of the armor. And can we blame him if it's taken this long to make the stand? You can't really fault a guy like Duncan because he waited for Yertle the Turtle Mitch McConnell to do the right thing and support Lynn Cheney and Adam Kinzinger when they were working to bring Trump to justice. They were left hanging in the wind by Republican leadership who could have buried Trump, but chose instead to ride the MAGA wild horse just a little longer. Republican leadership has been a dismal, brown-nosing failure, leaving it to others like Geoff Duncan to throw a monkey wrench into the MAGA machine. And he's not alone. Check out the evangelical pastor who just smacked Trump in the face for hawking Bibles. When evangelical leaders are calling out Trump, then we may well be seeing the MAGA movement melting down. And if we are, then we can't just sit around and watch it happen. Duncan is telling Republicans it's time to vote for Biden. That means it's time for Democrats to tell them why. To start talking about how Biden is the most successful president in the last 50 years, something the mainstream media is reluctant to do, lest they be called liberal. So everyday people need to talk up legislative accomplishments, like the American Rescue Plan that helped end the pandemic that Trump ignored, the CHIPS and Science Act, which has led to an increase in manufacturing jobs here in America, and the lowest unemployment rate in American history. And that's just legislation. Biden led the international response against the Russian invasion of Ukraine, rallying NATO after Trump tried to destroy it. Oh, and yes, after Trump successfully negotiated the release of 5,000 Taliban prisoners, who then took over the country, Biden led the most successful large-scale evacuation in history. Our job is to remind people of that when they say, "But he's too old." The only thing too old in American politics is the excuse Republicans use for not speaking out against Trump. I'm Anthony Vincent Gallo for Occupy Democrats.